What is going on, everyone? Hope you're having a fantastic day so far, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Strompfel, I'm your coach for the PSV Enteihoven. It's going to be week number 4 of the ABC, going up against Odds R and the Memphis Bewears. So yeah, I haven't known Odds for that long. He seems like a really nice guy for the few times that we have interacted. And yeah, this battle was a absolute bitch to try and schedule. But we finally made it happen, which was really exciting because going into this week, Odds was actually undefeated up to this point. Which is really exciting because, you know, it's always nice to battle someone that's ahead of us in the playoffs race and try and dethrone them. Really motivating and exciting to try and put extra effort into the team this week and trying to take him down. So yeah, Odds has a really scary team. There's a reason why he's undefeated at this point, I can tell you that much. So as you can see on your right side, he has actually drafted Speed Boost Blaziken as his first pick, and there's a reason why Speed Boost Blaziken is banned in most leagues. It's broken as fuck, and yeah, it's super hard to deal with for sure, but I feel like with some right preparation we can definitely take it down. But it's so scary with the life orb and with some attack boosting natures. Shit's gonna do so much damage, and yeah, it's really hard to keep all your checks at a reasonable amount of health and not allow Speed Boost Blaziken to come in late game and just yeah, kill everything pretty much. Then he has drafted some other mons like Weeball to deal with bulky psychics for Blaziken, so that's a very nice combination. He has also drafted a very good defensive core with Tangrowth, Gastrodon, Megastelix and Romatiz, so that can be pretty hard to break down if you prep for it incorrectly. Definitely going to try and have some really good breakers this week because I don't want to get stalled out for sure. The one thing I kind of noticed while building for Odds' team, and I think that's something that you might see if you look a little bit closer, is that Odds' speed tiers are really weird. He has stuff like Weavile and Lycanroc Daddy, which are very fast, and then he drops all the way down to Blaziken, which is interesting because Blaziken is one of those mons that usually rely on speed boost to become really fast, which means that it's not something I really can take into consideration when looking at speed gaps. So after that it drops all the way down to Dragalge at base 44, so he has one of the largest speed gaps that I've ever seen in drafts. Ever. It's just incredibly big. Base 110 all the way down to 44 pretty much. There might be, I don't know exactly what Zvile's speed are, but I don't think it's coming this week either way, so not going to take that into consideration. But yeah, massive speed gap, which is definitely something I'm looking to take advantage of with this team. Also something that I'm heavily relying on this team is not allowing the Blaziken to clean me up in the late game. So yeah, those are the main 2 points I'm looking at while building this team. And I started off with this Garchomp set, so I think I have a pretty damn good matchup just on paper, which means that I'm going to try and bring some funky sets that he might not actually see coming. And one of those sets is going to be my choice banned Garchomp. So every time I try and use a breaking Garchomp, I usually rely on Dragonium Z, but I felt like I've used that a few too many times this season and just PBA, so I wanted to switch it up a bit, and this time I'm bringing Choice Band Garchomp because my man has not opted to draft a flying type, which means that his 2 ground resists are Vikavolt and Tangrowth, and neither of those 2 will actually be too happy to take a Banded Outrage or a Dragon Claw. So yeah, Banded Chomp is looking incredibly scary versus his team. As I said, he has a little bit of a speed gap, and I am a little bit of a speed gap is an understatement for sure, but this pretty much means that I don't need to run any speed on my Chomp at all, which is kind of funny because I'm not going to attempt to speed creep the Blaziken because I am 100% sure that Blaziken is going to run Protect this week because yeah, being able to outspeed my Chomp, Keldeo and the Talonflame is very pivotal for Blaziken because all of those mons can just OHKO it from full, so you need to run Protect in order to get that first speed boost and try and outspeed them, in my eyes at least, which means that I'm not going to try and speed creep Blaziken with my Garchomp, so that's why I don't need any speed on it. So I can just run max attack, max bulk, and just put 18 speed in order to not get speed crept by, like, I don't know, Choice Scarf or Romatiz, I have no idea. But yeah, rocking adamant and just a lot of attack. And I put some HP and speed F in order to make me take a modest life orb HP ice from Blaziken. I can survive that from full, which means that as long as I keep my guard jump at 100%, Blaziken is just not going to be able to power through my team, which is really good. Because, yeah, that shit could be really scary. And I'm not thinking he's going to bring Specs Blaziken. So life orb modest it is, and I can definitely take one hit. So next up we got ourselves the Weavile check of the squad, which is going to be a pretty heavily physically defensive invested Mawile, rocking these Stealth Dogs. So when I drafted both Garchomp and Necrozma paired with Mega Mawile, didn't really feel like I would ever bring Stealth Dogs Mega Mawile, but here we are in week number 5, and I'm bringing it for the first time. So yeah, Stealth Dogs Mega Mawile it is, with a lot of physical defense investments. I'm rocking the Play Rough and the Focus Punch as my main 2 options, because Play Rough is still very spammable versus his team. I'm not rocking too much attack, but Play Rough is still going to hit like a truck. The attack investment it is there to OHKO a Dragology from full, and the Focus Punch, it's pretty funny because this time I'm rocking unprotected Focus Punch, not like week number 1 versus a Heatran, but this time I'm rocking just no Fox Focus Punch, and it's mainly aimed for that Steelix, because I feel like if I have Mawile out, chances are the Steelix are going to get switched in, which means that I don't really need to protect the Focus Punch too much. I can just attempt to Focus Punch the Steelix and do like 80% to it. If he switches into Tangrowth, that's totally fine. A Focus Punch into a Play Rough should do a lot of damage, and just by showing off that I have the Focus Punch, I feel like Mega Steelix is going to be a little bit worth switching in. And then I do have the Pain Split as my last move, because as I said, this is my main response to both Weavile and the Lycanroc Day. And it can be a little bit overwhelming trying to take both of these guys on, especially if they whip out something that I'm not expecting, like Natural Gift Weavile is something that I had in mind. But it can be some sort of version like that, which means that I might need to take a lot of damage on my Mawile to deal with one of the two. And in case I need to get my Mawile back up, I can always force one of them out and try and Pain Split on the incoming Tangrowth or the Mega Steelix or something like that. And in that way I can just get my Mawile back on to a really good amount of health. Yeah, forgot to mention, Stealth Dogs, really important to get those up this week. Vikavolt can be a little bit scary, so I want to try and chip that down. Weavile is definitely going to be scary if Marvel gets weakened. Definitely going to try and chip that down as well. And just having that extra chip on the bulk means that it's going to be a little bit easier for Choice Band Garchomp to come in and click the Outrage button or the Earthquake button, depending on what he has left. Next up, we got ourselves a Rocky Helmet Zapdos. So Rocky Helmet Zapdos is just here as a defog support and a Blaziken response, because yeah, defog is really important this week. Even though I just mentioned how great Stealth Dog was for me, I don't want to have Stealth Dogs on my side, because I have a very spicy Golisopod set coming up, which I want to see if I can make it work. And for that to work, I can't have Stealth Dogs on my side. So it's just nice to have defog on the team, and if he brings Mega Steelix, I can always drop into my Zapdos and defog away his Stealth Dogs. But yeah, Zapdos Rocky Helmet means that I can chunk down Blaziken really low. There are pretty much 2 Blaziken sets that I'm expecting, one of them being like Dual Stab, Protect, and HP Ice from my Garchomp. That's definitely the most, definitely the Blaziken that I'm expecting the more, but there can be a Blaziken set of like Dual Stab and Stone Edge to hit my Golisopod and my Zapdos, and technically my Talonflame as well, so that makes some sense too. But if it is the first one, that means that his best way to hit his Zapdos is going to be the Flab Blitz, which means that if he Flab Blitzes my Zapdos, he's going to take around 50% of its own health with the Rocky Helmet, Recall, and Life Orb, so that's going to be really nice. But yeah, Zapdos, great mon in this battle, just come in and annoy. Next up, we got ourselves a Wincon Necrozma. Necrozma is just a really easy Wincon versus his team. Due to his speed tiers, it's going to be really hard for him to check this, because I can always Calm Mind up on his bulk, I can sub on his bulk, and the few things that can check me offensively, being like Weavile and Blaziken, I have pretty good responses to them on my draft, especially Mawile and Zapdos combined. So yeah, this mon can just Calm Mind up, substitute down, and Heatwave and Psyshock are the only things I really need for his entire team, which is definitely really good. The side shock is here after week number 1. I kind of learned my lesson with the calm minding Florges. So if he's calm mind Aromatisse, I don't want to find myself in the same situation where I need to bank on speed F drops or crits. This time I'm just going to click side shocks instead, which means that I can chunk down the Aromatisse way quicker than he can chunk down me. Heat wave is for Steelix and for potentially a really aggressive Weavile switch. I can always try and predict that. But if Weavile is in front of me, I can always go into my Mawile and try to beat it that way. But yeah, in general, the funny thing with building this Necrozma set as well was didn't really find anything I needed to invest in, because Necrozma is so bulky in general, so I just found myself only needing 20 special attack and modest. So the rest was just dumped into defense, maybe to take a Blaziken hit or something, I don't know. Which I can take without investment, but maybe a little bit better than general. You never know. Next up we got this Golisipod set that I kind of hyped up. It's definitely a kind of interesting set, which I'm really hoping gets to shine this battle, which is a sub-metronome set. So I didn't know this, but Substitute kind of interacts with the ability Emergency Exit in a different way. If you substitute down under 50%, you actually will not get sent out, which is kind of interesting, which is why I needed to bring this Golisipod set to try it out. And originally I had like sub sword stance or sub bulk up, but I kind of realized that I needed to have some sort of way to hit Galdi, so I added drill run. But when I did, I kind of felt like I wasn't really breaking too much. Because even though Golisipod is pretty strong, you can see with the spread that I have, which I will go into in a minute, I didn't really do that much damage, which is why I added the metronome. And yeah, I started doing some calcs, and it turns out that sub-metronome Golisipod is a massive threat towards this entire team, because yeah, I can just start metronome stacking my leech lives and liquidations, and they're gonna start doing a whole lot of damage to his team. As I said in the beginning of the video, I'm gonna try and abuse his speed tiers, which means that I'm running a lot of speed on my Golisipod, which means that I outspeed like a invested Dragology at some point, I think, which means that I can sub down on that if needed be, or I can, if I'm already behind the sub, I can drill run it twice, and with the metronome boost it's going to go down. I can substitute on Gastrodon, I can substitute on Aromatisse, I can substitute on Tangrowth, I can substitute on stuff like Bastiodon, I can substitute on Weavile. Golisipod is going to be one of those ones that I think he will predict to have dual priority, because, you know, first impression, Okos Weavile, Aqua Jet is going to do like 60 to the Blaziken, but yeah, I think I can threaten both of these guys out and substitute on their switch and start metronome stacking on the incoming Mon. So that's going to be a very interesting Golisipod set. I really hope it works, because yeah, I feel like it can be very efficient if I put it in the right position. Last but not least, we have this kind of interesting Porygon set as well. So I wanted to bring Porygon mainly for the Vikavolt. Vikavolt was a bit of a threat. If you look at this team, like HPI's Bug Buzz and Thunderbolt can really deal with my team, so I wanted to have some sort of special sponge, and it turned out to be Porygon this battle. But I didn't really feel like Porygon had that good of a matchup at first glance, because his bulk of Tangrowth, Mega Steelix, Aromatisse, and Gastrodon just meant that I had a bit of trouble making Porygon work, because I felt like it would just be toxic stalled if it was a defensive Porygon. So I said no to that, and I opted to bring this very offensive Porygon instead. Kind of interesting, but I feel like it can work if I pivot it correctly. So I do have some speed F, just in order to pivot into Vikavolt if I need be. But then I have a lot of attack, a lot of special attack, and a bit of speed as well. And I'm rocking the Double Edge, Ice Beam, and HP Grass and Recover. So this Porygon is basically aimed to try and break down the bulky core. Nothing on the bulky core can actually beat my Porygon 1v1, because I can chunk down pretty much everything that he can pivot into. I originally had, as you can see, I don't have any happiness. I originally had like no attack and frustration, but I realized that it did just a little bit too little damage. So I switched it up and I brought Double Edge, and I realized Double Edge is doing a lot of damage if I get a download in the attack stat. So I decided to go with a minus defense nature instead. So yeah, this Porygon is to do a lot of damage if I get the if I get the boost in attack. And HP Grass is there for the Gastrodon. Kind of realized that Curse Gastrodon was a threat, so I put HP Grass instead of Toxic. And I don't want to give Gastrodon any free turns by just Toxic in a recover. I feel like I will lose that war 1v1 since I don't have leftovers, so HP Grass it is. Ice Beam is very spammable against everything else, so yeah, this Porygon is going to be a lot of fun as well, because there are surprisingly few switch-ins to this Porygon looking at his team. Double Edge is going to do like 60% to Aromatisse and stuff like that, so yeah, that's going to be the team. I feel like it is it's kind of wonky with like really offensive Porygon, Submeter and Golisopod and Banchomp, which I definitely haven't brought before, but in general I feel like it is a very solid team. Really excited to try it out, and yeah, without further ado, let's just go right into the battle. So looking at the Pokemon that Odds decided to bring, we can see that he left some threats on the bench for sure. The Vikavolt that I was so afraid of has not opted to be brought in this game, which is kind of interesting. And also the Mega Steelix, which I found myself struggling with a little bit, has also been left on the bench. So Mowl's just very free to click player versus his entire team. And yeah, it's looking to be a fiesta for my Necrozma as well. All I really need to do is just find myself in a position versus either the Tangrowth or the Aromatisse, and I can just start coming up, and that's going to pretty much be a wrap. I opted to bring this Lycanroc, which I am assuming is some sort of stealth looking set, because Mega Steelix has not been brought, so I'm definitely thinking that's going to be some sort of lead Endeavor set or something, I don't know. But yeah, this is definitely going to be an interesting match for sure. Blaziken is always going to be a threat. Dealing with the Weavile is going to be interesting because I need to keep Mowel healthy. They actually brought the Dragalge as well, which can be a bit annoying. But looking at my team, Banchomp is just going to be able to click EQ versus his entire team. Porygon is looking like a massive threat. Depending on what I get a download boost in, preferably attack, I'm just going to be able to click Double Edge versus his entire team. And Golisopod is looking so good in this game because I can sub the Tangrowth and the Aromatisse, and I can just start metronome stacking him to death. But yeah, I'm going to lead off with the Mega Mawile because I feel like if this is some sort of lead Lycanroc, I can just lead Mawile, get up my rocks, because rocks really punish him. And whenever I try and feel like I need to bring in Golisopod or the time has come, I can just then go into Zapdos and Default. But for the time being, I feel like rocks is very good versus him. So I'm just going to lead off with Imaginate and see what it goes with. So it goes with the Lycanroc as expected. I can just get that Intimidate off, and I can just get up my rocks this first turn. Trading rocks is not that bad for me, but he actually goes for the Sword Stance, which is kind of interesting. I know my Mawile is really physically defensive, so +1 Drill Run is not going to be able to do anything, but he Sword Stances again. And now this is starting to get a little bit interesting. He lives on with the Focus Sash, so Mawile doesn't get the kill there, but now he's at 1 HP. He's sitting at +3 with a Lycanroc, which is interesting because I wasn't really expecting this set, not gonna lie. And I know Mawile is very important for the late game because, you know, this is my main response to Weavile, as I've said like 100 times at this point. So I'm just gonna look for some switches on my team. The thing is, even though this Lycanroc is at +3, it actually doesn't do that much damage, unfortunately. Poor Lycanroc is trying its best here with the double Sword Stance his first 2 turns. But yeah, Garchomp, while it is really good, and I know if I keep it at 100%, I'm going to be able to check Blaziken one like to 2000%. Still have Golisopod at really high, Necrozma at really high health. Still have Zapdos at high health. And it's not like Garchomp is going to be a unthreat just because I deal with this Lycanroc. So I'm just going to go right into my Garchomp, because if he touches me with what I'm expected to be a Drill Run, it's going to do around 60% because Garchomp is super fat and it's going to die from my Rough Skin. So that's definitely what I'm going to try to do this turn. So I'm going to go into my Garchomp. It goes to Drill Run and he actually misses, which is kind of unfortunate. So yeah, that Drill Run would have done around 60% and it would have died. This next turn is actually going for Stone Edge and misses that too. So yeah, I don't know why he went for Stone Edge, since it would have done less than the Drill Run. But yeah, he goes to Stone Edge, misses that too. So Garchomp is sitting on 100%. But yeah, the misses are of course unfortunate, but it's not like they are heavily impacting the game, because I would have loved to take in that first Drill Run, gone down to 60 and just had this threat removed instantly, but instead he loses his Lightning Rock for pretty much no reason, and I get up my rocks for free. So yeah, shoutouts Garchomp, man, get the first kill in the battle without a problem. It goes into Weavile. I'm just going to go right into my Mawile. As you can see, the knockup does absolutely nothing. It does 15, which is pitiful. And I can just fire back with a real damaging move, because Mawile's going to show this Weavile how it's done. Do 50 on the Tangrowth. I don't think this is Scarf Tangrowth with the Earthquake, and even if it is, I got the attack drop. So yeah, player off's going to 2-KO the Tangrowth, so I'm looking really clean within the first few turns, because turn 7 I'm already killed. I've already killed 2 Mons and I got my rocks up. So in comes Blaziken on my Mawile. This is just screaming any sort of fire attack. I want to see if this is physical or special. If it is physical, then it's pretty much going to die on my Zapdos. If it's special, then I can just switch on Porygon or something, I don't know. But he's going to go for the Flare Blitz. It does 50, and as you can see, the Blaziken pretty much kills itself upon touching my Zapdos. It's kind of funny. I end up going for the Rouge right here, because I feel like I'm totally fine trading my Zapdos for this Blaziken. If he has Stone Edge, this is his time to reveal it. It's not like I have that many good Stone Edge switch-ins on my team. So I felt like if he wants to take my Zapdos, he can do right now, but then Blaziken is going to be at 31% and pretty much in range of anything from my team. So just went for the Roost right there in the case that he wants to switch out Preserve his Blaziken for the late game, which works out for me because he actually goes into the Dragalge, which is something I can definitely preserve my Zapdos versus, because Zapdos is looking really clean later on. Try and switch in and take on the Blaziken later on, and by him not revealing Stone Edge right there kind of tells me that he isn't Stone Edge, maybe HP Ice, and he didn't want to kill his Blaziken with a recall quite yet, which is definitely very good for me. So yeah, Zapdos versus Dragalge, not too great for me, so I'm just going to go into Porygon, which can take anything. I get the attack boost from the download. He goes to the T-Spugs. That's totally fine for me. I'm just going to go for the +1 double edge, do 60% to the Dragalge. So Porygon is a massive threat. Porygon is just in this with the attack boost and double edge. It's just killing everybody at this point. So I'm just going to take out the Dragalge with 2 double edges, and in comes the Aromatiz. Now Aromatiz being switched in is it's okay for me. I can definitely 2-KO this with the double edge, unless it's like max bold, which it definitely can be, judging that I have Chomp. But if he's not, he's just going to get 2-KO by this double edge. But I decided to go for a different route, because I felt like getting rid of these T-Spikes right now would be great, so Blaziken doesn't like get out of hand with some sort of rest bullshit, or Weavile doesn't get out of hand because my Golisopod is getting toxic. I don't know. I just felt like getting rid of these T-Spikes were great. It's not like I need my Stealth anymore, so they've done all the chip I needed them to do. So I'm just going to go for the Defrog right now. I could have went for the Discharge, but thing is, if he is speed creeping my Keldeo with a Weavile, Discharge wouldn't have taken out the Weavile either way. So there was no point in doing that, I felt like. So I kind of missed that turn, so I'm going to go back into it. So this turn, as it goes into the Weavile, is kind of crucial, because it kind of puts me in a very commanding position, because Weavile comes in, gets back to 100%, and now it's Weavile versus Zapdos. So last time Weavile was in, I switched into my Mawile, and you saw that it's pretty much going to take nothing from the Weavile, and I've scouted out that this is a Choice Band Weavile based on the knockup damage. So I know that if he locks into anything, any one move that Weavile gets, Mawile can come in for free, and player off is going to claim someone again. And I don't think he wants that, to be fair. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go for sort of like a middle ground play, because if he stays in an Icicle Crashes, my Golisopod can take it, and if he goes to the play that I'm expecting, which is go into the Blaziken, predicting my Mawile, I can deal with that too with Golisopod, because I can just Liquidation him and pretty much kill 3 Blazikens at that point. So I'm just going to pull a Switch Out into my Golisopod, predicting a double, which works out great for me, because now Golisopod is in. I can start clicking the Liquidations as Aromatiz comes in. Definitely is max bold, but yeah, with the fact that I have Liquidation, which is kind of strong, I am going to boost that with Metronome, and the chance of getting a defense drop means that this Aromatiz is is looking to be in a bit of a worrisome position, because even though he protects, that doesn't actually stop my metronome from getting boosted. As long as I use a power point, I'm good to take a metronome boost. So yeah, he's going to try and wish protect here a few turns, but that just builds up my metronome. So yeah, this Aromatisse is really sitting in shit, because now my liquidations are doing around 50. It's going to go for the magic coat. I think he kind of gave up at that point. There's no way that Aromatisse could beat my Golisopod, so yeah, the speed actually comes in clutch as well, because it's not like Scuffed. I don't know what I was thinking there, but yeah, he's gonna go into the Weavile, hoping that he maybe can flinch me down. I don't really understand why. Maybe he was expecting Mal to come in. I can just stay in with my with my Golisopod and just go for the Leech Life, and down goes the Weavile. So Golisopod taking the second kill of the game. Really, shoutouts to Cav for being a beast. So he's gonna go into Blaziken. It was kind of a roll to get my Golisopod sent out. Fortunately, gets it, which means that I can go into my Necrozma, the only one that hasn't seen the Day of Light yet, and I'm just gonna take the Flare Blitz. He's gonna get killed by the recall, and unfortunately Necrozma didn't really get to do anything, but it got to be in the end of the replay, so I mean, that's something. So yeah, really excited to, really glad that the game worked out so well. GG to odds. I felt like my team just had a really good matchup, and I managed to capitalize on that by just playing kind of aggressively and have really good brings. Because even though my team was, in my eyes, kind of memey, there were definitely some validation to some of the sets that I brought. Really glad that pretty much every single set also got to be showcased this battle, like double-edged Porygon, 2-hit KOing the Dragalge. We got Metronome Golisopod 1v1ing the Aromatisse. Defensive Mao was a massive threat in this game. Bad Chump coming in and, I don't know, dodging. But in general, taking up getting a 6-0 win versus someone that was undefeated at this point is definitely good for definitely a moral boost for the team as well. So yeah, now we're sitting at a 3-1 record with a pretty high differential. So yeah, this is looking great for the end of the season and going into playoffs, getting this win. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see all of you next week. Goodbye.